We literally were created as a neighborhood movie palace.
The Music Box Theater initially opened on August 22nd, 1929. Back when most movie theaters in Chicago sat around 3,000 people, the Music Box Theater only housed 700 people.
The neighbors wanted a theater on the farther north side at the time because otherwise you had to travel all the way downtown to the major, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 seat movie theaters, right? Those giant movie palaces of the time. So the idea of it was a movie theater for the neighbors.
The Music Box Theater is I never heard of anyone so immersive into their films. One of their main things I've heard about so far about them was their music and their sing-alongs and group gathering types of things like the Sound of Music. They had sing-alongs and they had costume parties where they had the audience dress up as characters and they would judge them on their costume, which would be immersive. It's just fun for the audience.
The Music Box Theater, they take a lot of risks with the films they show. They show a lot of foreign and silent films that don't get really shown a lot in theaters anymore.
So when we first started, we had to take a chance because we were independently owned, and we have been independently owned our whole time. So we weren't originally owned by the studios. The movie studios back in the day also owned their movie theaters. So to get their content, you had to be one of their theaters. So we, from the get-go, had to figure out how to program differently because we weren't allowed to get those films.
Between 77 and 83, the Music Box Theater was oftenly used for Spanish language films and Arabic language films. In 83, management reopened the theater with a format of double feature and repertoire films. Eventually, foreign films were reinstated and independent and cult films were added to the roster and became usual for the theater. As part of the rebirth, they added a theater organ, which was played for weekend intermissions, monthly silent films, holiday sing-alongs, and special presentations.
When we opened, we didn't open showing silent movies. We opened showing talkie pictures because talkies were the thing. Going back and doing once a month silent films is funny because people are like, oh, this is what it was like, but actually in this theater it was never like that in 1929.
The architecture of the Music Box Theater was unique even when it opened in 1929. The unique architecture is meant to invoke the feel of Spanish-Italian architecture, an open-air palazzo, if you will.
The idea is it's this Spanish-Italian Art Deco movie theater that has a splash of all types of of those two styles, but the main idea is that you get a feeling of history, right, and atmosphere. The look and feel of the building, its style, is not changed inside, and it's not supposed to change. It's very important to, I think, the legacy of what this theater is.
This is one of the very few theaters like this that shows classic films, silent films, foreign films to the extent that the Music Box does. I don't know, it's definitely worthwhile to coming here to see the films they show.
Of course, I have to ask about the building's ghost.
Oh boy.
The Music Box Theater has an abundance of unique features, including its very own ghost.
I'm a skeptic, and I haven't had this experience, so I'm gonna say supposedly. But supposedly, there was a manager. The kids in the neighborhood called him Whitey.
During his 40 years working here, he was known to be very overprotective over the Music Box Theater. In 1977, after he closed, apparently he laid down on this couch and unfortunately never woke up.
And supposedly he haunts these walls. Now, I've never had a Whitey experience. I've been in here very early in the morning, very late at night. I've heard sounds and all sorts of things, but they're explainable by the building. It creaks and it moans and it makes all stupid stuff. It tries to scare you. But I've never had a Whitey experience. Now, a couple of my staff who've been here for years, they give you a different story. They'll tell you about Whitey.
The theater suggests that if you see Whitey, you give him a friendly little wave.